Breaking news has sent waves across the entertainment world. Reports claim that Diddy Combs could be getting out of prison earlier than expected. According to fresh updates, the music mogul might not have to serve his full term until May 2028, as previously believed. Instead, insiders are saying that Diddy is now being considered for early release based on good behavior. And that phrase, good behavior, is being emphasized by every outlet covering this story. It's a surprising twist that has fans, critics, and even industry insiders talking non-stop. For months, Diddy has reportedly kept a low profile behind bars, avoiding conflict, complying with every rule, and keeping his head down. The kind of conduct that might convince authorities he's a changed man. But not everyone is buying it. Some people believe this good behavior narrative is nothing more than a performance. A carefully planned strategy by a man who knows the system, knows the cameras, and knows exactly what kind of story the public wants to hear. Still, if the Daily Mail's report holds any truth, Diddy could be walking free as early as January or February of 2028, several months before his original release date. Now, let's be honest, Diddy has always been a master at appearances. Whether it's on stage, in interviews, or now in a courtroom, the man knows how to play his part. For years, he's projected power, control, and confidence. But those who followed his recent downfall say what we're seeing now is different. Behind the walls of prison, sources claim Diddy has been quieter, more withdrawn, possibly even reflective. They say he follows every order, treats guards with respect, and avoids drama. A stark contrast from the brash and untouchable figure we saw in his glory days. It's as if he's trying to rewrite his image from the inside out. And why wouldn't he? Every day of good behavior gets him one step closer to freedom, one step closer to Miami, where he reportedly plans to rebuild what's left of his empire. But beneath that calm surface, many believe there's a storm brewing. It's hard to believe that a man with Diddy's past and personality could completely change overnight. Some former insiders insist that once he's out, we'll see the same Diddy, a man obsessed with power, image, and legacy, ready to reclaim his throne in whatever way he can. But prison isn't a playground, and maintaining that so-called A1 behavior for years isn't as easy as it sounds. According to reports, the environment he's in can be unpredictable and tense, even dangerous. Rumors have circulated that Diddy has faced several close calls, moments where tempers flared, and situations could have spiraled out of control. In one particularly wild story, someone allegedly threatened him with a weapon during a confrontation, a claim that's been widely debated. Whether true or exaggerated, it paints a picture of how volatile life behind bars can be, especially for someone of Diddy's fame and fortune. One wrong move, one argument, one moment of ego, and that good behavior could vanish instantly. It's a tightrope walk, and if there's one thing Diddy's always done well, it's balance on that edge between brilliance and disaster. Still, many close to the case say it's only a matter of time before the mask slips, because pretending to be calm in chaos doesn't come naturally to a man who built his empire on control and dominance. Outside the prison walls, reactions to the news of an early release have been mixed. Fans who grew up on Diddy's music, the soundtracks of the late 90s and early 2000s, feel conflicted. They remember the icon, the visionary who turned Bad Boy Records into a cultural movement, the man who once said, "Can't stop, won't stop." But now that same phrase feels heavy with irony. Meanwhile, critics argue that giving Diddy an early release would be a mistake, that someone with his record, reputation, and influence should serve his full term like anyone else. The internet is divided. Some are hopeful, saying people can change and deserve redemption. Others believe this is just another example of fame bending the rules. But regardless of where you stand, one thing is clear. If Diddy walks out of prison early, it'll mark a major turning point in one of the most dramatic celebrity downfalls in recent memory. And then there's 50 Cent, Diddy's longtime rival who never seems to miss a beat when it comes to taking a jab. Just as the early release rumors began circulating, 50 Cent publicly mocked the idea, claiming that Diddy's supposed knife-to-the-throat incident was fake. He called it a sympathy stunt, designed to sway public opinion and make Diddy look like a victim instead of a villain. In classic 50 Cent fashion, he didn't hold back, reminding fans that he's been calling out Diddy for years, even sending formal letters to judges urging them to see through the act. He's framing the entire narrative as a performance, one that Diddy has mastered both in and out of court. And you know what? That theory has weight, because whether you love Diddy or hate him, you can't deny he's a showman. Always has been, always will be. Every move, every look, every word is part of a bigger script. Meanwhile, whispers about 50 Cent's long-awaited Netflix documentary on Diddy continue to swirl. The project has reportedly been in the works for years, digging deep into the rise and fall of one of hip-hop's most powerful figures. Fans are eagerly waiting, but 50 Cent seems in no rush. As he said before, "You don't rush greatness." And maybe that's the right call, because timing is everything. Imagine if the documentary drops the same week Diddy walks out of prison. The world would stop to watch. Every headline, every thumbnail, every tweet would explode. For now, 50 Cent's silence is strategic. He's letting the story build itself, and it's working. But for Diddy, the real story is what happens next. If he's released early, he won't just be stepping into freedom. He'll be walking into a world that's changed completely. His legacy has been shattered, his brand damaged, and his name now tied to controversy. The challenge will be not just surviving outside those walls, but rebuilding trust in an industry that's already moved on. Whether he tries to come back through music, media, or philanthropy, he'll have to face a public that no longer sees him as untouchable. Redemption isn't impossible, but for Diddy, it's going to take more than good behavior to convince the world he's truly changed. As whispers of early release fill the headlines, another storm quietly brews in the background, one that could completely reshape Diddy's future. While fans debate whether he deserves a second chance, several civil lawsuits are moving steadily through the courts, and they paint a much darker picture than any rumor about good behavior. Legal analysts have already pointed out that if even one of these civil cases sticks, it could lead to new criminal indictments that would destroy any hope of redemption. For all of Diddy's apparent calm in prison, the walls outside might be closing in faster than he realizes. Among these cases, one of the most talked about involves Syria Gilliam, a woman who originally filed her complaint under the name Jane Doe. She later decided to step forward publicly, revealing her identity and standing behind her story with striking confidence. Her lawsuit, handled by attorney Tony Busby, outlines serious allegations involving manipulation, coercion, and law enforcement's alleged indifference. While details remain under legal review, what makes this case stand out is the credibility that comes with someone putting their name and face to such heavy claims. For Diddy, that changes everything. Anonymous accusations can fade, but a named, persistent plaintiff adds real pressure. Analysts believe this case, if it progresses, could expose deeper patterns in his past behavior and possibly connect dots between other unresolved allegations. Another name that's resurfaced is Chelsea Lovelace, a woman who also began her fight as an anonymous plaintiff before stepping into the spotlight. Her decision to go public gave her story a sense of authenticity that's hard to ignore. Her civil complaint describes events of non-consensual encounters, manipulation, and isolation. Reports claim she was allegedly drugged, coerced into travel, and placed under financial and emotional control. Some of these accusations date back years, overlapping with Diddy's peak fame. The disturbing part is not just what's being alleged, it's how similar the details sound across multiple accounts. The repetition of themes, power, control, fear, and silence, suggests a possible pattern that, if proven true, could dismantle Diddy's image permanently. Right now, the Lovelace case is active. The refiling gave it new momentum, and legal observers are watching closely. Every hearing, every motion becomes a piece of a puzzle that could determine Diddy's fate. Civil cases don't carry the same criminal penalties, but the fallout can be just as severe. If a jury finds him liable in one of these suits, it could spark criminal investigations or new charges. Prosecutors often monitor high-profile civil cases like these because the testimonies, depositions, and evidence can lay the groundwork for future criminal proceedings. Diddy may be hoping that his good behavior earns him an early exit from prison, but these lawsuits could pull him right back into a courtroom. And this time, the spotlight will be even harsher. Then there's the Lil Rodney case, another active civil suit that's now moving into the discovery phase. That means evidence is being exchanged, witnesses are being lined up, and both sides are preparing for what could become one of the most explosive courtroom moments of the decade. Discovery is often where the truth comes out: documents, text messages, financial records, and testimonies that the public never sees until they're presented in court. For someone with Diddy's resources and connections, that process can get messy. But no amount of money can fully control what other people choose to say once they're under oath. Insiders say this case could reveal a side of Diddy that fans have never seen. Not the performer, not the businessman, but the man behind the power, stripped of the luxury that once protected him. Legal experts say these cases, Gilliam, Lovelace, and Lil Rodney, form a triangle of risk for Diddy. Each one touches on themes of control and exploitation, and together they build a narrative that's difficult to ignore. If even one of them progresses into a judgment against him, the others gain credibility. It's a domino effect, and one that could trigger renewed attention from federal investigators. The government doesn't always act immediately, but when civil outcomes point toward a pattern of behavior, the door to criminal indictment swings wide open. This is why many believe Diddy's legal troubles are far from over, regardless of how quiet things might seem right now. And just when you think the list ends there, more names enter the conversation. People like Anna Kane, who also filed a civil suit set to enter its discovery phase early next year. Every one of these lawsuits adds another layer to Diddy's public image, creating a timeline of allegations that feels impossible to separate from the man himself. What's striking is how these cases are unfolding while Diddy is still behind bars. He's not even out yet, but the legal world outside continues to move, slowly building pressure that could explode the moment he's released. Imagine walking out of prison into a media firestorm. New cases, new coverage, new questions waiting at every turn. That's the reality Diddy might face if these civil suits gain traction in 2026 and beyond. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Diddy's career has always been a story of control. Control over music, image, and narrative. He built his empire by deciding what the public saw and heard. But now he's lost that control. Every news story, every headline, every leaked document chips away at the version of himself he once protected. And for a man whose identity was built on perfection, that loss of control might be more painful than the prison cell itself. Inside, he can maintain order, routines, silence, distance. Outside, chaos waits. The irony is striking. The man who once managed everyone else's image now can't manage his own. What makes these developments so captivating for the public isn't just the legal drama, it's the psychology behind it. People are fascinated by the fall of icons, especially when those icons once seemed untouchable. In America, there's something both tragic and mesmerizing about watching power unravel. Viewers tune in not just for justice, but for closure, for the human story buried beneath the headlines. Diddy's saga has all the ingredients: fame, scandal, redemption, downfall, and the eternal question of whether someone that powerful can ever truly change. That's why these cases matter. They're not just about one man. They're about a system of influence, silence, and accountability that Hollywood has long struggled to confront. And while we wait for those legal outcomes, Diddy supporters continue to hope for a comeback. Some still believe that he's misunderstood, that the media has exaggerated his mistakes and ignored his legacy as a pioneer. Others are more cautious, saying that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. They argue that what matters now isn't how much time Diddy serves, but what he does with his second chance if he gets it. Will he emerge humble and honest, or will he return to the same patterns that brought him here? That's the question everyone's waiting to see answered. Meanwhile, the legal system moves at its own slow, deliberate pace. Documents are filed, motions are heard, and lawyers on both sides play their roles. For the casual observer, it might seem quiet. But make no mistake, beneath the surface, every legal move could shape Diddy's fate for decades to come. Whether these civil suits end in settlement, dismissal, or full-blown trials, they'll leave a permanent mark on how history remembers him. When Diddy finally walks out of those prison gates, whether it's in 2028 or a few months earlier, he won't be returning to the same world he left behind. Fame, like time, moves fast and doesn't wait for anyone. The music industry that once worshipped him has evolved. Social media has rewritten how stars rise and fall, and public forgiveness isn't what it used to be. There's no more guaranteed comeback, no easy path to redemption. The question that everyone will be asking is simple. Can Diddy rebuild, or is his time at the top truly over? Let's be clear. If Diddy does come out early, his next chapter will define him more than anything he's done before. Every move, every interview, every post will be analyzed under a microscope. Some say he'll disappear into quiet luxury, retreating to Miami or Los Angeles to live out his days surrounded by what's left of his fortune. Others believe he'll try to reinvent himself completely, as a speaker, mentor, or entrepreneur with a story of survival. That might sound inspiring on paper, but the truth is, redemption only works if people believe it. And right now, many don't. The reputation Diddy once used to open doors now closes them. Brands, collaborators, and business partners are cautious, even afraid to be associated with a name that carries so much controversy. The road ahead will be lonely, steep, and filled with reminders of what used to be. Still, Diddy has something most people don't: resilience. Throughout his career, he's reinvented himself again and again. From music producer to fashion mogul to media boss, he's always found a way to adapt. That's why some people think he'll try to use this downfall as part of his rebirth story. They imagine him stepping in front of cameras, not as the untouchable billionaire he once was, but as a humbled man claiming to have learned from his mistakes. And you can already picture it: the somber lighting, the carefully chosen words, the emotional pauses. If he does this right, he could capture sympathy from a public that loves second chances. But if he does it wrong, if it feels rehearsed or insincere, it could backfire instantly. In 2025's media climate, authenticity isn't optional. The audience can tell when something is real and when it's just damage control. And then there's 50 Cent, waiting, watching, and probably already planning his next move. His upcoming documentary might become one of the most watched exposés in streaming history, especially if it drops close to Diddy's release date. Imagine the tension: one man walking out of prison, while another releases years of hidden footage, interviews, and commentary about him. That's not just media, that's cinematic timing. It would cement their rivalry forever in hip-hop history, transforming their feud from gossip into modern mythology. And for the viewers, it would be unmissable television: truth, drama, downfall, and redemption colliding all at once. But what happens beyond the headlines? Once the cameras turn off and the interviews end, Diddy will have to face something even more difficult than fame: himself. Time in prison changes people. It strips away illusions and forces introspection, especially for someone used to constant attention and control. Maybe that's what's been happening during these quiet years. Maybe the man behind the name has been forced to confront the consequences of every decision, every relationship, every secret he thought would never see daylight. And if that's true, then maybe, just maybe, there's room for something real on the other side of this chaos. Because redemption, when it's honest, doesn't come from press conferences or TV specials. It comes from change. It comes from the silence after the noise. Still, even if Diddy finds personal peace, the world outside might not be so forgiving. The civil lawsuits aren't just legal matters, they're moral ones. They've reshaped how people view him, especially younger audiences who only know him from headlines, not hits. For them, Diddy isn't the artist who produced "I'll Be Missing You." He's the man behind court cases and scandals. Rebranding that image would take more than PR. It would take time, humility, and genuine accountability. And even then, some doors might stay closed forever. Hollywood and the music industry have long memories when it comes to controversy, especially in an age where every story lives forever online. So, what could Diddy's comeback actually look like? Some insiders predict he might focus on humanitarian work, launching programs for prison reform, youth mentorship, or addiction recovery. It's a familiar move for celebrities trying to shift public perception, but if done with sincerity, it could work. Imagine Diddy standing on a stage, not as a performer, but as a man sharing lessons from his rise, fall, and survival. It would be poetic: the mogul turned mentor, the star turned survivor. But again, it all depends on whether people believe him. Because at this point, belief is the currency he's lost the most. There's also the question of music. Could Diddy ever return to making records, producing, or performing again? Some say yes, but not in the way he used to. The era of flashy celebrations and ego-driven anthems is over. If he comes back to music, it'll have to be introspective, storytelling from a man who's lived through everything. And honestly, that kind of honesty could resonate deeply. People love a comeback song when it feels earned. If he channels his pain into purpose, he might find an audience that didn't exist before, one that respects transparency over perfection. But all of that is speculation. What's real is this: Diddy's legacy now sits on a knife's edge. The same public that once called him a genius now watches him like a cautionary tale. He's a symbol of how fast success can turn to silence, how fame without accountability eventually collapses under its own weight. Whether he spends the next few years in prison or steps out early, the truth remains: freedom doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes the hardest part comes after the gates open, when you have to rebuild yourself from the ruins of who you used to be. And as the headlines fade and the world moves on to its next obsession, there's something hauntingly human about Diddy's story. Beneath the wealth, fame, and chaos is a reminder that no one is untouchable. Every empire has cracks. Every legend faces the mirror eventually. For years, Diddy controlled the narrative, the parties, the press, the power. But now the story isn't being told by him, it's being told about him. And maybe that's what redemption really looks like, not erasing the past, but accepting it, learning from it, and finally letting it change you. So when that day comes, when Diddy steps out into the open air again, the cameras will flash, the world will watch, and the story will start a new chapter. But whether it's a comeback or a conclusion, that part's up to him. Because fame can fade, money can vanish, and headlines can shift overnight. But character, that's what decides how a person's story ends. And for Diddy, the world isn't just waiting to see if he's free. They're waiting to see if he's finally changed.